Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here, and I've got kind of a special treat for you today. Once again, I took you through, a couple of weeks ago, I brought out some old Mulan animation that I had found in some boxes as I was cleaning out my garage. Well, I found some more. And so I thought it'd be kind of fun to take you through and show you that. But I want to back up a little bit and give you a little bit of history as to what this animation is. So back on Mulan, I was the supervising animator of several characters. A lot of you know that I did Yao from the Gang of Three. Yao was the guy that liked to fight all the time. But I also did the Ancestral Ghost. Those are the characters that Grandma prays to and they come to life in the backyard, and they're the ones that bring Mushu to life. And one character out of the ancestors in particular, the main ancestor voiced by George Takei, was a lot of fun to animate. And but there is a process. There is kind of a long process in designing those characters. There's a lot of them in there, and each one of them had to be designed. And then what we would do through the process is, as they would get designed and we would get to a point where we liked it, then we would do some test animation. And that's what I found. I found that first test scene that I ever did of the main ancestor. But before I even show you that, I wanted to show you a little bit of the process. I've got maybe 5 sketches out of literally thousands. But I just thought I'd throw these down really quick and show you what we do. These were some of the initial, very first, just quick scribbles where I would sit down with a pen and just start scribbling out different shapes, different ideas for characters that would fit the main ancestors in the backyard. So this guy here, I think he became the abacus guy, and this became one of the other older grandma ancestors. This one here definitely did. Some of them, they stuck, and it's kind of neat to see them start very, like I said, just me sitting down with a pen and literally almost like calligraphy, just trying to come up with little ideas. After that, we started exploring other themes. And so then it became time to start looking at the main ancestor as well. And so I started doing some drawings of him. And here you'll see I've got some influences from the old Japanese kabuki masks. And they lend themselves really well to ghost design and different expressions. And it was really a lot of fun to explore. We ultimately did not stay with that theme, but you can see here it created some really cool kind of ideas, and I had a lot of fun with it. But as we progressed along, certain things did stick. The size of him, the flowing hair. We thought maybe having some flowing facial hair would be kind of cool. And so here's another one here of the same guy. But then that kind of evolved into this guy right here. And this was kind of the first drawing where I thought, wow, I'm liking this. Now you'll notice this is still ultimately not the character that ended up in the film, but it was close enough that I thought, at the time we thought we were there. And so that's where I thought, you know what, let's go ahead, take some dialogue from George Takei, and let's try animating a shot. So let's go over to the down shooter, and I'll show you what I did there. Okay, so now that we're over at the down shooter, this is my whole camera setup. We've got lights and a peg bar down here. This is where we shoot the animation. It's very, very cool. And one of the things that you need in order to shoot your animation, this is what we use on every production, on every shot, has its own exposure sheet. And what an exposure sheet is basically a roadmap for how the shot or how the images are shot. Because sometimes you have a drawing that's held for 2 frames. Sometimes you have a drawing that's held for 1 frame. Sometimes you have a held drawing that's just supposed to stay there, and then you have other drawings on top. All that information, including camera direction, all of that is on here. And then the other thing that's very important is dialogue. There's dialogue that's written on here as well. So with an exposure sheet, the way it works is you'll see a lot of columns going across. Each column across represents 1 frame of film. This is how we track it. And back then, we used to measure our film by the feet, by footage. And so you'll see a dark line, dark line. There's 16 frames between each dark line. That's 1 foot of film. So every 16 frames is 1 foot. Now, every 24 frames, which is 1.5 feet, is 1 second. So if I show you here, the dark line, and then halfway between the next two dark lines, that's 1 second of film that goes through the camera. As we would do our drawings and number them according to the frame number, we would fill out the X sheet. Now over on the left side is very important, is our dialogue. And this is how we would get lip sync in animation. The editorial staff, before we would get the shot, would go through and listen to the dialogue, and they were able to write it out according to what frame each sound in the dialogue falls. And so then they would write it out on the side of the exposure sheet, so that on, say, frame 25 right here, I know that he's starting the word the, and so he has to make a the shape to his mouth. And on frame 31, there's an M shape to his mouth. And so if you follow that, throughout the shot, you'll get lip sync, and that's how we did it. But let's go ahead. I'm going to set this up. Right now, what I can see is that every other frame on here is blank, which means every drawing is being held for 2 frames, okay? So I'm going to put this off to the side, and I'm going to grab my first drawing. Drawing 1, there it is. And we're just going to go ahead and we're going to start to shoot. So what I'm doing is I'm shooting each drawing 2 times because each drawing is held for 2 frames. It's shooting 1 frame at a time. Now we've got 120 some odd drawings here. So this is going to take a little bit while. So here we are in we're coming up on the end of the shot here. And one thing I want to mention is, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the numbers. Those numbers are not the drawing number. Those are the frame number. And so you'll see each number is going up 1 at a time, which means each drawing is being held for 1 frame. Eventually, you're going to see at the end, those drawing numbers will start going by 2s. And that's when I'll shoot for 2 frames. But because his motion was so broad with his staff, I wanted everything to be on 1s at that point. So here we are at 189, and this is where we go on to 2s. Because the next one is 191. He's slowing down, coming into his last pose. There it is. That's the drawing we've been looking for. Drawing 199. We've got everything shot. Why don't we go on over now and let's go check it out. Let's see what we've got shot. One thing I do want to mention, though, is I showed you that dialogue. The one thing I don't have for this shot is George Takei, who is the original voice in the movie. I don't have his original recording, so I'm going to go ahead and do my own voice, which is something we often did. We would do scratch recording until we could get the actor in to do the actual recording. And so I'm going to go ahead and do my own voice, and we'll throw it on there. Okay, so we just shot our scene, and I want to go ahead and play it back and see how it looks. So let's come on over here, and I'm going to come up, and we're just going to, I've got it all set up, and let's just hit the space bar and see what we've got. Great, that looks great. I'm going to go ahead and set it to loop. So you can see the animations come out nice, but we have no dialogue. And because George Takei, we don't have his dialogue, I'm going to have to record my own. So I'm going to go over and do that. So now, because I don't have George Takei, and I've got a funny story about George Takei. When I first met him, I called him Mr. Takei by accident. And he came up to me and goes, "Actually, it's Takei. Rhymes with okay. Nice to meet you." And he grabbed my hand. It was pretty funny. But I don't have his original recording here. So I've got a digital recording device on my phone, as we all do, which is great nowadays. And so all I have to do here is hit record, and I'm going to record my own version of it, my scratch voice, like I was talking about earlier. So I'm going to hit right here, and I'm going to hit record. If you serve the Empire well, it will serve you. The risks are high, but the rewards are great. Let me try one more. If you serve the Empire well, it will serve you. The risks are high, but the rewards are great. Stop. Okay. So now what I do is I can just email that to myself, and I can pull it up in Premiere, and we can lay it over the animated shot. Okay, so we have shot and exported our animation. We've recorded scratch dialogue and exported that. I brought that into Premiere, brought everything into Premiere, and I've pulled them together, and it looks really cool. I want to show you what we've got. So let me click on here, and we're gonna go big with our screen, and let's go ahead and play. If you serve the Empire well, it will serve you. The risks are high, but the rewards are great. If you serve the Empire well, it will serve you. The risks are high, but the rewards are great. If you serve the Empire well, it will serve you. The risks are high, but the rewards are great. So let's go back. I want to show you, there's a couple things in here I want to show you that I think are pretty cool. One of the things, we wanted the ghost to feel ghostly. And so one of the things I wanted to do is, if you noticed his sleeves, the overlap on his sleeves, when he moves his arm, it feels very, very wispy, like it's underwater. And the way we did that was I literally took every 8th drawing after it was animated, and I animated it all straight ahead. But then I went back and did all my in-between drawings very evenly. And so what that gave it was this very even, kind of slow, fluid action. And so as his hand would move, he would move through the overlap and create this kind of underwater effect. So as I scroll through here, watch those sleeves, how they kind of have their own timing. And they always are moving. Now, one thing you'll notice on here is that his hair and his mustache don't really move that much. And that was something that stood out to me. And so in the final version of him, in the movie, his hair and his mustache and his beard, they do the same as the sleeves. Or actually his hair. I don't think I did his beard and his mustache. But if you look at his hair, it's always moving as well. So that, we decided to add that. It was a really cool process. I really enjoyed it. And I'm really happy to have taken you through this and shown you, what we did here. Let me play it one more time with the title on it, and enjoy. If you serve the Empire well, it will serve you. The risks are high, but the rewards are great. If you serve the Empire well, it will serve you. The risks are high, but the rewards are great. If you serve the Empire well, it will serve you. The risks are high, but the rewards are great. So one of the things I want to mention is this process that I just took you through with the down shooter, the camera, this whole setup. This is what every animator had. By the time we got to Mulan, it wasn't always that way in the earlier days, but by the time we got to Mulan, we had our own down shooters in our offices. And so we could take our animation, shoot it one drawing at a time, and we could adjust our timing right there on the computer. And then that would get saved on a central server, and then we could go in when we would do approvals with directors, and we could pull that shot up and we could watch it in the same way that we've done it here. So this is really cool, because for me to sit down and shoot these tests, it feels like I'm stepping back 25, 30 years and doing the same thing that we did back then. We were making these movies. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun taking you through the process. I've got a lot more that we're gonna be pulling you into, and so I recommend hitting subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because I've got stuff from Aladdin, I've got stuff from Mulan. I've got all kinds of stuff in that that I can't wait to show you guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. Go on out there, put some beauty back into the world, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks.